everybody, what's going on? Today we're going to be taking a look at Anpu. I want to talk about him a little bit because I think he's really good and I feel like he's not getting enough love. I think a lot of the time people are just testing damage, and if he's not living up to the damage of someone like Daniel, let's say, then we're writing him off. He's not really designed to do as much damage as Daniel. He brings a very interesting type of support and control to a fight. And he's been very helpful for me, and I don't even have him to Immortal yet. I was kind of wanting to wait to make this video until I have him at Immortal, but I've been getting so much out of him, even before he's at Immortal, that I figured we would just go ahead and talk about him. It's hard, since you can't jump back and do old story stages and stuff, to really showcase him, but I do have an arena fight that I recorded, so we're going to take a look at that now, and I want to talk you through some of what happened in the arena fight, because it's pretty high rank arena, and he was the reason we won the fight ultimately. So let's take a look at that real quick. All right, so I slotted him in for where I was running Hypnos. Sometimes I run Serena there as the popular comp, and then I was trying to Hypnos out, so I figured I would slot him in, and it's been working really well. Keep an eye on the enemy Bailey. Watch how often he is doing nothing. We lock him down quite a bit, and I've tested this a few times since I've recorded this as well against a couple of different teams. And so far the team is undefeated. I'm not saying it can't be beaten. I'm just saying so far it hasn't been beaten. I'm sure I will take a loss at some point, but just look at all the, on top of the obviously effects we're getting from our commander and Pain Rune and Flashpoint and etc. He's also just bringing another level that I think helps us edge out what we're going up against, because everybody's doing kind of the same thing in arena right now. And he brings a different level of control that I think is just helping us, like I said, edge out the amount of control. And then we take a look at the damage. He did 7 million and Leo did 9. So he did decent damage in this setting. Killer champ, man. He's been great for us. All right, so you can see the kind of impact he can have when you've got someone like a Bailey or Rakana, maybe if you're struggling in the soul mines, if you hit a campaign stage that has these champs that are teleporting around like Bailey and Rakana and some others, he can lock them down. He's got a lot of control, and he can stun, and then he can also lock people in place and keep them from using displacement skills. That's kind of his big thing. He's got a lot of other stuff going on too, but he's a great way to deal with that type of stuff. I was actually concerned about trying him in arena again because I don't have him at Immortal. I don't have my best gear on him or anything, but he's been pretty effective for me. So I really like him. I want to take a look at him and hopefully sway your opinion of him a little bit if you're not really a big fan. So let's go over his skills real quick, and then I'll talk about how I've geared him and some other thoughts I have on his gear. For his ultimate, he summons the Scale of Justice, inflicting damage to all enemies within 8 meters and detonating all soul guards on the battlefield. You'll see this trend a lot in his skills. Enemies damaged by this skill have a 50% base chance, modified by accuracy. That's going to be a big factor in his skill. You're going to want to keep that in mind when you're gearing him. Modified by accuracy to be stunned for 3 seconds. We've talked about this before. 3 seconds is a very long time in this game. The skill cannot be cast when there are no enemies in range, and then he can't crit. Damage inflicted by him can't crit, so you don't have to worry about crit on him. You also don't need to worry obsessively about attack anyway, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. And then with his talent, when this skill is cast, it refreshes the cooldown of Soul Guard, so he can get more Soul Guards back up, okay? Here's Soul Guard. Summons 1 in front of him up to a max of 1. With the talent, it's a max of 2. They summon with 70% of his attack and defense, along with HP equal to 1,000% of his attack. When attacking, the Soul Guard, I think it's supposed to say has a base chance, has a 20% base chance, modified by his accuracy, to inflict imprisonment on the target, making it unable to move or use displacement skills for 3 seconds. 3 seconds is a long time. And here, with the talent, he's got 2 of them. This is, again, huge. Now you've got 2 Soul Guards potentially locking down 2 enemies for 3 seconds, not only holding them in place, but they can't teleport out of it either. And I think Bailey doesn't even move anyway. He only teleports. So if he gets stuck in this, he's just stuck, right? His passive, whenever a unit on the battlefield dies, its soul is collected. Each collected soul provides Ampu with 2% attack, stacking up to 10 times. And then here it presents him with 1% bonus damage, and the max amount of stacks is increased to 15. And then he's got another passive called Haunting. On death, allies and summoned creatures have an 80% chance, depending on his accuracy, to instantly explode, dealing damage equal to 600% of his attack to all enemies within a 2-meter range. And then also reduces enemy energy regeneration by 15%. For 5 seconds with a maximum of 5 stacks, this damage is inflicted instantly and cannot be stopped. And then the talent just increases the damage. Real quick notes on his exclusive. Enemies affected by corpse explosion have a base chance modified by accuracy to receive curse, which increases the damage they reduce from subsequent corpse explosions by 15%, stacking up to 5 times. Ultimately, I think this means they take 15% more damage with every stack. I think the wording is a little bit off there. I think they meant to say receive, or it reduces their damage reduction. Either way, I think it roughly comes out to the same thing. That's just for unlocking it. Then you level it up to 10, inflict additional soul shocks, depending on the number of collected souls to the 2 closest enemies. Inflicting attack times collected souls plus 1 as damage. Enemies impacted by this skill are knocked back to a distance of 8 meters from Ampu, so that pushes everyone away from him. And then at 20, every time a soul is collected, he recovers 5% of HP and 25 energy. I think getting him to 20 is pretty clutch. I think that's pretty crucial. I think that's makes a big difference for him, especially depending on where you're using him or who you're running him with, okay? If you're running him with a lot of summons, other summoners, he's got an opportunity to just continue to stack up health and energy, right? And then for his 30, when an allied unit is killed or disappears, they have a 15% base chance modified by accuracy to generate an additional corpse explosion. That's pretty dope. It's not one I would prioritize over some of the more popular candidates like Maserati, Serena, Bailey. You know, there are better exclusive 30s out there, but I do think it's a solid exclusive 30, and maybe someday I will max it. But you see, he's got a lot going on. It's a lot to think about, but ultimately, the big takeaways are, I think, the Soul Guard thing, the locking someone in place and taking away their displacement skills for 3 seconds, I think is pretty huge. I mean, honestly, everything he does, the knockback is huge. This is pretty decent damage. He's got a lot going on. As far as his equipment goes, I've gone double Hawkeye hero set, and I went attack on the helmet. I don't think I would recommend going accuracy on the helmet. I would give him the attack straight across the bottom for all 3 pieces, and then compensate with Hawkeye sets. You see, I've got 2 sets here, and we found a little bit of accuracy in our subs. I don't think we got any crazy rolls or anything. There's 1 roll, there's a double. So we did okay, and he's still at 122, so he's procking pretty regularly everything I need him to proc. I don't think he needs a tremendous amount of accuracy, but I'd say even if you have some decent subs on a couple of pieces, you might be able to get away with 1 Hawkeye set and then go with a hero set. Alternatively, I think, let's take a look. I don't know if the game is going to recommend it. It doesn't specifically recommend it. I feel like a light gap set could be interesting on him. I feel like if he could get that ult out a little bit quicker, that could be interesting. So light gap is one I might play around with at some point. And then perhaps Gluttony. But I feel like Gluttony is one of those sets that's probably just good on everybody. So I don't know that it's like particularly good on him. I do think it could be interesting. But my recommendations are just to keep it simple for a while. If you want to try light gap, go for it. But I think Hawkeye and Hero, some combination of that, attack across the bottom. I wouldn't go accuracy on the helmet. You can get enough accuracy from the sets and substats. And yeah, he's been fantastic for me. You saw the arena fight, and that was like a top, I don't remember where I was ranked. It's definitely top 20. It might have been closer to top 10. It's high level arena, and he's holding his own in there just fine. He's definitely contributing to some wins. He's been an interesting way to deal with a lot of the same stuff we keep seeing over and over in arena. And I feel like as I get him stronger, that's only going to get more fun to play around with. I was stuck in chapter 45 somewhere, and I slotted him into a run. I think I slotted him in with Daniel to give him a little bit more summons to play with, and we breezed right through it, and now we're up working our way through 46. I was stuck in Atlas for a while at, I think, somewhere in the 190s. I don't remember. He broke me through that, and now we're at floor 210. I haven't tried anything in regular soul mine in a minute. Again, in Twilight Lands, I use him for the summoner one that pops up. He's been really good in there. I haven't gotten an opportunity yet to use him in the CC bond one. I've been looking for one, but the last 2 full stages I think I've done haven't had a CC bond at all, so I haven't gotten to test him in there, but I think he would be really nice for that one. So I think he's a really solid champ. Again, if you're putting him in a team with Daniel and comparing their damage and judging him on that, he's not going to measure up. There's not a lot of champs in the game that are going to put out damage like Daniel. He's pretty ridiculous. But for what this dude is good at and what he's, I think, intended for, he does very well, and there's not a lot of champs that bring what he brings. So I think he's worth more attention than he's getting. I feel like people seem really unimpressed with him based on his damage, and that's not his point. But he did do most of the damage, I think, in that arena fight. I don't remember the exact values on the damage, but I think he did like 7 million. I don't know if anyone in the fight did more than him. Maybe Leo did, but he can still do damage in certain situations. He's just never gonna, hang with Daniel and Ravenna and Emma and some of these other champs that just pump out crazy numbers. So that's it. Hopefully this was an interesting little showcase and gives you some stuff to think about with him. Maybe you'll start using him and trying him in some different areas. I think he's a fantastic champ. I'm a big fan. So hopefully it swayed you a little bit. But that's it. I'm going to get out of here. Appreciate y'all watching. Hope you got something out of it. We'll see you later.